The Yankees lose a stunning, shocking, I don't know what you want to call it, but that kind of game to the Angels tonight, 11-8. David Cohn said on the broadcast that there are back-breaking losses, and then there are games like this where you lose. And that's exactly what this was for the Yankees, and there's so much to go over. But we'll start in the top of the first inning where Domingo Germán, who got the start, continued to struggle. He gave up a 2-run homer to Phil Gosselin. This gave him 18 runs given up in his last 15 innings pitched. So there's been some struggles of Germán of late. The Yankees really do need him to figure it out, especially with the way the rotation looks right now. But then in the bottom of the first came perhaps the highlight of the Yankees' year, and definitely their best offensive inning of the year. They chased Shohei Ohtani, the sensation. After just 2 outs, they scored 7 off him, capped off by a bases-clearing double by DJ LeMahieu. Ohtani's ERA skyrocketed an entire run. It went from 2.58 to 3.6, as this is the most runs the Yankees scored in an inning all year, and the most in a first inning since 2015. And then the rain came into play. And so in the bottom of the third, there was a 42-minute rain delay, which knocked out Germán. His final line was 3 innings, 3 runs. But it could have been much worse. He got into some huge jams in the second and third, went out. Bases loaded in the third, but he was able to grind through those. And then he was done after that 42-minute rain delay. And there was a quick opportunity for this game to get under play. There was more rain in the forecast, but the goal was to maybe try to get 4.5 innings in there, make it an official game, and get out of the way in this one. And that's what they did. But after that, after the top of the fifth, they had a rain delay. It was 91 minutes. They actually came back into play. The Angels had crawled back at that point. And they made it a 7-4 ball game. And so then we went moving on. It got later into this one, and the Yankees had a ton of more chances to add to the lead, but they just couldn't do so. They had 4 double plays. They went 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position. They left to big innings and runs off the board. And we've said all season with the Yankees, if you continue to do this, you give teams a chance to crawl back into it. And so the Angels would do that later. But early on, the bullpen was really solid. You had Justin Wilson and Darren O'Day making the returns from the IL, pitching 1, 2, 3 frames. And the Yankees added an insurance run off the bat of Brett Gardner in the bottom of the 8th, his first of the year. It gave the Yankees a 4-run, 8-4 run lead going into the 9th. You also had Jonathan Loizica pitching 2 shutout innings to get to that point, and then in came Aroldis Chapman with that 4-run lead, and he had absolutely nothing in this one. He walked 3 of the first 4 batters and then gave up a grand slam to Jared Walsh, his second homer of the game, and this really marked, the epitome of Chapman in June. His ERA in June rose to 12.07. His ERA on the year went to 3.7. It's the first grand slam he's given up in his career, as he's absolutely lost it. He had those dominating first 18 games where he was the best pitcher in baseball. He was completely dominant. He gave up a single run, but he's completely lost that. His strong start of the year has been wasted. And the Yankees' 8-4 run lead was completely gone. And so even though he was still tied at this point, all the air was taken out of the ballpark, taken out of the few fans that were loyal and stayed throughout. Lucas Luque came in, who'd been so special this year. Great find for Chapman, and he didn't have it either. He gave up 3 runs, giving the Angels 7 runs for that 9th inning to give them an 11-8 lead. The Yankees in the bottom half went down 1-2-3 very feebly, and it marked the worst loss of the season, full of awful losses. There's no way to argue that. After the game, Giancarlo Stanton spoke very candidly about what a loss like this does and where the Yankees could possibly go from here.
It's one of those things you got to ask yourself. You want to be successful. These are the things you have to do to be successful. You got to erase what just happened and be ready to go for a brand new game. There's really no other option. The other option is failure, which is letting this drag on and whatever, saying you're tired from yesterday's game, all this crap. No, we'll just got to take it in the mouth and let's go tomorrow.
Look, the reality of the situation for the Yankees is we're 80 games into a 162-game season, and they're just not a good baseball team. This loss gets them in 4th place in the AL East, and they are now 8.5 out of first place, and every team ahead of them is objectively better. They're producing right now, and so it's not just that the Yankees are losing, it's how they are losing. They're losing in these humiliating, soul-crushing games, and every time it looks like they turn a corner, they're coming off a sweep, they drop a game like this, or they get swept by the Boston Red Sox, or they lose that game to the Twins. It's just something keeps piling on, and at a certain point, when are they going to turn it around? You're halfway into a year, and they've seen no signs of doing so. They had the best ERA in the AL earlier in the year. They couldn't hit. Then you start turning a corner offensively, which it looks like they're doing now. The bullpen's rocky. Now the starting rotation is a mess with all these injuries and underperformances. And so there's so many question marks there that it's not going to all come together. The moving pieces can't get into the puzzle and make everything fit. And so right now the Yankees are just not a good baseball team. Hal Steinbrenner will speak to the media tomorrow. He was scheduled to do so before this game got crazy and before they lost. So it should be interesting to see how the tone of that press conference changes as the Yankees will turn to Jordan Montgomery to try to salvage and split this series versus the Angels. 11 hours at the stadium, everything in between for me. I'm Ryan Gregware reporting live for WFUV Sports.